Did you ever cover the Wizards?
Oh, yeah.
Because I watched, it's kind of a must-watch if you're a sportscaster, shooting guards. It's the Javaris Crittenton story,
Yes.
who was initially a Laker.
Yep.
And then it's Gilbert Arenas.
Yeah.
Listen, players are culpable for their own mistakes. You cannot root for the Wizards as an organization after watching that. It is so ridiculous.
I mean, they're so not the same
I know.
organization
That's what
anymore.
J-Mac says.
I mean, they just aren't. So
What was allowed? it's fascinating. Like on planes? This happened on planes?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Rachel Nichols joining us. Okay, so tonight, one of my favorite non-game moments of the year is the NBA draft lottery.
Spicy.
Now, like a couple years ago, we had Wemby. This happens about every fourth year. We get a LeBron or we get a Wemby. So Cooper Flagg, who is only 18, but, the comp, and I think it's an accurate one, is you're getting Jason Tatum, but a little more aggressive, like Kyle play. So Utah has acknowledged they would consider Danny Ainge, if they won, moving Cooper Flagg. I would not, but they are, and Danny Ainge is shrewd.
Danny Ainge has said he would trade his own grandmother. So I assume he would trade Cooper Flagg.
So here's Utah wins it. Are they the front runner to land Giannis?
So if I'm Milwaukee, I am not doing a straight-up trade for Cooper Flagg and Giannis, right? Because the Milwaukee Bucks don't have a first-round draft pick till 2031. That
That's
is
right.
6 years from now.
Don't control any of their first for 5 years.
If you get a Cooper Flagg or some other really outrageous young talent, but no picks back, including that, if it's a straight-up trade, that's no good for you. Because you won't have young talent to put around him. You've got older guys on bad contracts. By the way, you can become an unrestricted free agent in the NBA after 7 years. And 6 years is when they would get their first-round draft pick. So he'd be out of there. So that's not worth it. If Utah can put together a package with Cooper Flagg, with some other young talent, with draft picks that interest the Milwaukee Bucks, sure, they'll have a conversation for sure. The other one to watch with the draft lottery is Houston. Because Houston has been a front runner for whoever the best free agent on the market is, right?
Yes.
We've talked about Kevin Durant. We've talked about Devin Booker. We've talked about Giannis trumps them all, right? So if Giannis does become available, the advantage is you're trading him to the West, which is great, right? And the Milwaukee Bucks have learned their lesson with Drew Holiday. You do not want the guy you just traded in your own conference, right? They've got young talent that can come and really good young talent that can come to Milwaukee. And they have all kinds of draft picks. And certainly, if with the Phoenix pick, which they're in the lottery for tonight, they luck out with Cooper Flagg, or even anyone in really the top 3 or 4, because these are great players, they then become even more of a front runner.
I said the most fascinating part is this. So we know Kyle Shanahan has had great teams, arguably for about a 4-year stretch, the best roster, no trophy.
Right.
Great Sacramento King teams, way back when, no trophy. So my take is, Giannis, you got a trophy. 12 years, great fun. Here's the team to keep your eye on. So we think Sam Presti's brilliant. They had Westbrook, KD, and Harden. They now have Holmgren, SGA, and an unbelievable roster. Yet, if San Antonio wins the lottery tonight, Wemby, this year's Rookie of the Year, the point guard from UConn,
Stephen Castle,
and Cooper Flagg.
Yeah.
And my take is, what a nightmare for OKC.
Oh, I mean, look, if Oklahoma City or the Spurs win this draft lottery, can you imagine? And Oklahoma City obviously threw their other picks because their own pick is not going to be in the lottery. But it's just crazy to me
San Antonio could have the best rookie 3 straight years.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. And by the way, the Thunder, to your point, they have all these picks. They, if they want to, are going to be a contender for Giannis because the picks that they have aren't just their own picks. They've grabbed picks from all around the league. So you're really not betting against Giannis to fail if you're making that trade in your Milwaukee because they've got this pick, they've got this team's pick, they've got that team's pick. You don't have to worry about it.
I said this with the Warriors. They're not there yet, but Steph will be 38 next year. They made the move for Butler because they wanted to squeeze every last win out of Steph, kind of their Jeter, untradeable player, their Elway.
Yeah.
And there's very few of those, but Jeter, Elway kind of feel like Steph.
Yes.
Can't trade him. And so I'm sitting there thinking, you don't want the Kobe tour, the last 3 years, which was unserious basketball. You don't want to be the Bucks where you grab, and you wake up and you're like, we're a first-round exit team. I look at the Warriors. They don't have their GPS system when Steph doesn't play, and he's 38. He's running 1.75 miles to 2 miles every big game. OKC, Houston, all these, San Antonio. You look up and you go, guys, we're going to bring this back. Couldn't I argue? Kuminga doesn't work with Steph.
Right.
If they get extinguished here very quickly by Minnesota, my guess without Steph, they will. What do you do going forward? Great coach, Steph, and great culture is not going forward. You're at best 4th in the West.
Well, if there is a silver lining to the Steph Curry injury, which, by the way, obviously the Warriors would rather not have, it's that Jonathan Kuminga has gotten to play more and show what value he brings. Because really the issue is it's not that he can't play with Steph, it's that he can't play with Steph and Jimmy. There's not room for him when there's those two other guys are on the floor. Now that Steph's off the floor, it's him and Jimmy, and they can play well together. And also Kuminga had a great game, right? Even in the loss. So the silver lining, if they do lose this series and Steph can't come back, is now you have a much more tradable asset in Jonathan Kuminga than you did even a week and a half ago.
Right.
Because in the first round, it was like, he's not even good enough to make the rotation, right? What kind of asset is he? Nobody's going to want him. Now everyone's like, oh, okay, it really was just scheme, and therefore he's an asset. I don't think either way this is going to be similar to the Kobe situation or the Giannis situation, because on both of those teams, you really had one elite guy, right? On this team, you have Steph, you have Draymond, you have Jimmy. Now, they're all aging. I get that. But those are all kinds of players that can make a difference in the game the way the guys on Kobe's team couldn't, the way the guys on Giannis's team can't this year. And I don't know, when Steph heard that they were making the Jimmy trade, his quote to Draymond was, "This is it. This is our last ride."
Yeah.
And I think they all know it and they believe it. And they think that with this group, they can really make an impact and maybe get to finals again. And by the way, it looked like it, toward the end of the season and early in the playoffs.
So the Celtics season may very well come down to tonight. The way they won in blowout fashion, generally speaking, the zigzag theory on the road, New York will be ready to roll tonight. And there has been a question. Boston, from Danny Ainge to Brad Stevens, they are proactive, not reactive.
Yeah.
And they're not moving Tatum. But if they lose to the Knicks, there is a sense that they could look up and go, listen, we don't want to be Milwaukee and Denver.
Right.
We've got Tatum. We've got new owners, may want to shed. I mean, their salary now is like $500 million if they just signed their first-round pick. I mean, Rachel, to me, if the Knicks win tonight, and I think it's a 3 or 4 point game, J-Mac, find the spread on that. I think they're going to make an aggressive move. Could they not make a Giannis package?
I'm not sure they could with their picks and other situation. And again, if I am the Bucks, I would not trade him within the conference.
Right.
Again, Drew Holiday. By the way, can you imagine with the Celtics? Can you imagine if they also gave them Giannis? Oh, here's Giannis and Drew. I don't see that happening. However, I do think, look, this is a $500 million payroll with all of the luxury tax and second apron and eighth apron and all of that the Celtics are going to have to play under new ownership, to your point. And look, if they go back and win another finals, and I still think they're the favorite, even down 2-1 in this series, it's going to be hard to break that team up.
Of course.
Two titles in a row?
You'll tweak it a little, though.
I think you've got to pay those guys and just bite the bullet and try to keep winning. But if it's a second-round exit, it kind of gives you an excuse if you're ownership or if you're the front office to say, well, clearly this isn't quite working the way it was before. Now we can, kind of mess with the roster a little bit and certainly cut payroll. And we'll just have to see if that happens. I still think the Celtics are going to come out of this series, and I think they have a really good chance to win the title. That's no disrespect to New York. I mean, I think it would be great for the league to have the New York Knicks advance because it has been a very long time.
Right.
And I just think the excitement in the Garden, we've seen it. I mean, it's just incredible.
It's electric, totally electric.
And unlike some other New York Knicks teams or big market teams where people around the country, they hate the Yankees, that kind of thing. This Knicks team is so scrappy and fun and young.
They're perfect for New York.
A lot of people around the country who would say hate the Yankees will still really get behind and like watching this New York Knicks team.
Yeah.
So if they win, and I agree with you tonight, is just pivotal. I mean, I think it's a must-win for the Knicks, certainly, right? Who knows? But the Celtics' point differential throughout the season, they were 16 points ahead on average in the games they played the Knicks. Not only did they win 4-0 in the season series, they won by an average of 16 points.
Yeah.
And in each of these games, they've been up 20 points.
No, we've talked about this. The NBA's willingness to swallow the whistle and let games be physical has absolutely benefited the Knicks' OG body type physicality.
Yeah.
The NBA is allowing less skilled teams to body up and push you around. That's why I thought Denver would give OKC some problems because they're big, veterans, physical. So Jokic is great. They have no bench.
Right.
And, I think a lot of people look at Denver. I do, and certainly thought 3 years ago, could they be the Spurs? Is he their Duncan? But then they didn't keep people. They look at the Michael Porter contract now. They paid one too many people. And Jokic looks gassed.
Oh, he looks exhausted.
Didn't they draft a big and he got hurt?
Look, the thing with Jokic is he had to push them through the end of the season. Remember the 60-point games, the this, the that, just to keep them out of the play-in, right? There was such a scramble for seeding in the West. He had to give it his all every night and carry this team. Now, they played, I think, 7 games in the last 13 days. I mean, that is asking too much of him, especially, I know they're used to playing at altitude. It's their altitude,
well, they played
but it's
late
still altitude.
Friday and early Sunday.
Right. And I just think that the Thunder are deeper, certainly. I mean, they won that game yesterday because of their bench.
Yeah.
And they're the youngest team in the NBA. Let's not forget that. If you look at teams across the league and you say, okay, on one day's rest, when there's only one day between games, who is the best? Not only are the Thunder the best, they're the best by about 17 points. I mean, it's crazy. Where the Nuggets, when they have one day of rest, they're better than their opponents by about 3 points. So you just look at this schedule, you look at what Jokic has had to do. This is the problem with having a rotation that is only 6 guys. And by the way, the 6th guy is Russell Westbrook. I keep saying to you, it's a box of chocolates with Russ. You never know what you're going to get.
Right.
Well, yesterday was like when you get one of those like gross orange cream chocolates or something.
Nobody likes those.
Not good. Not good.
So let's put up the NBA draft lottery tonight. I said I'm kind of rooting, just for historical relevance, for San Antonio to win it.
Yeah.
Wemby. Why do I keep forgetting their point guard?
Stephen Castle.
Castle's great. Stephen Castle. And then get Cooper Flagg.
Yeah.
I think that's unprecedented to get the best player out of 3 straight classes.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating. I'm also rooting for Utah because I think, having spent a lot of time there, great facility, great GM, super smart owner, great economy. They fill it. It's almost collegiate feeling. I think that'd be great if he was there. Is there, when you look at this, is there something that intrigues you tonight?
Well, look, I'm from Washington, D.C., right? And I can tell you that the Wizards / Bullets / whatever have not made it to the 3rd round of the playoffs. Not won a title or made it to the finals. They have not made it to the 3rd round of the playoffs for 46 years. So to me, obviously this is colored by me being a native, but I think that would be a great fit for him for a lot of reasons. It's an international city. If you look at the sort of teams, look at the cities that are on top of the lottery, Washington, D.C. certainly is the most sort of cosmopolitan of a lot of those places. The fit with the Wizards' young players that they've been tearing down and doing this rebuild would actually be excellent, and you would see him making an impact right away. And I just think that when you talk about East versus West and you talk about, yes, the Spurs, by the way, they've gotten lucky in the draft lottery before.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim Duncan.
That's what
right?
G-Mac says.
I mean, all of these big players, Kevin Durant, all of the big players, even Zion Williamson, right? Since the LeBron draft, I can't think of a player who was sort of a surefire, we know he's going to be a success in the NBA, that hasn't gone West. So just for balance, I think it would be nice to have an Eastern Conference team win the lottery tonight. And again, I'm rooting for my hometown team.
Have you watched that documentary, though?
I have. And look, I was there for it, and I'm very, I've covered Gil for a long time and know him very well. I get it, but it's a different team now.
All right.
I'm just saying.
They're hard to root for after watching that.
I mean, there was, by the way, go back. There's a lot of franchises around the NBA that were permitting a lot of things.
Oh, I know.
Back in the day.
It's when you watch, it's incredible. The team, the league, they were trying to hide all of it from the media.
Look, the Detroit Pistons, at the height of their powers, right, when they were in Eastern Conference Finals after Eastern Conference Finals after Eastern Conference Finals, I used to cover that team pretty regularly, and I'd walk in the same door at the practice facility every day, and suddenly there was a sign that says, "No weapons allowed in this building." And it happened overnight, and I just said to the security guard, "Before there's a sign, there's usually a problem." He's like, "Oh, yeah, there was a problem." So it happened in a lot of places at that time.
Wow, Rachel Nichols, great seeing you as always.
Great to see you guys.